Okay. Other smoke. Hey guys, Matt with BleepinJeep. It is a Sunday evening, but I am still hard at work trying to get the Holy Grail together before it's time. We have a lot to do, not a lot of time, but today we've got something super special. Let me show you. We have just installed the finest seat that I have ever put into any vehicle that I've ever owned. Check this out. Look at that. That is amazing. So this is a PRP Enduro Elite seat, which is amazing in and of itself. But what's super amazing is not what you can see, but what is on the inside of these seats. So when we ordered these, we had them custom ordered with not only heated seats, but cooled seats as well. It's some kind of fantastic technology. It's not like you would think. It's not the air condition blowing up through the seat. Instead, it's electricity that cools the seat. And from the website, it says that it can do 45 degrees. It can change the temperature of the seat from the external temperature by 45 degrees. So I don't know if that's going to be enough to keep us cool, but it's certainly going to help. I can tell you that for sure. So I just got this one installed. We need to put the passenger side in. Once we get that done, we'll show you how they work, but we're gonna have to take these out again because we still have a lot of stuff to do on the inside, but I want to make sure that all the bracketry is good and everything bolts up before we pull them out. Check that out. Now we've got 2 seats in. I'm tired. I'm gonna go to bed. We'll see you Monday morning. Good morning. I'm doing a little cleanup session this morning and waiting for Josh to get here. I'd like to get his opinion on those seats, and then we're gonna get started doing whatever else needs to be done. That's about a day's worth of dust right there. Metal dust. Look who's here. Are you going for a new do?
Yeah. Making do with what my do is.
You got some brake lines?
A box of brake lines.
Oh, nice. That's going to be super handy. Check this out. What do you think about that?
I think that's pretty awesome.
They're still a little tall. If you're any taller, though, it's going to be bad.
I mean, this is...
I think the cushions might wear in a little bit.
They will. And this is the way Bumble is, too. And I thought I was going to suck at first, but I kind of like being up high, so... Oh, yeah. I like it.
All right, things are looking good. Steering is completely plumbed. The orbital's in. The seats are in. The brake lines are started. Josh had to leave for the day, but this thing. So this thing, I've been dreading this for a while now, but that bed, I could just weld it on right where it's at, but we like for things to be perfect, and it needs to move down 1 inch. To do that, I'm gonna have to take it off. I made some little marks right here, you can see. I need to cut that out about 1 inch so that this sits down a little bit further. Why do we have to do that? Well, I've got it pulled out right now, you can see, but what I want to do is continue this line down. In a few videos back you saw me put these on there, but right now, if I were to continue this line straight across for the rock rails, it's too high. It's like right up in here, and so that needs to come down so that it's below the body. Wish me luck. Holy moly. I wasn't expecting that. When I knocked this out of here, it widened by about 2 inches. Maybe 1.5 inches. I don't know if that's good or bad. Oh man. So I can't tell you if that's good or bad. It's good for the shocks because we're doing the shocks inboard. That'll give me a couple more degrees, maybe one more degree. But it's bad because I already marked all of these, and if I want to go with that, I have to mark it all over again. That sucks, man. What should I do? What should I do? One of the things I have to do no matter what, though, is to cut this tube shorter by 3/8 of an inch. And an easy way to get a straight line there is to take a hose clamp. We're going to tighten this up right at the line, and that's going to make a nice straight line for us. You can either cut along that hose clamp, or you can just take a marker and mark that line. I think that's what I'll do. Just mark it just like that. Should be fairly square. Alright, here's the shapes that I need to cut out to make this happen, and I think I'll use the plasma torch. Alright, got some holes cut out there. Hopefully that brings her down to the correct level. Now I just need to figure out how to get it back over there. That's not gonna happen. Let's see if this will hold the weight. Well, I guess that answered that question. Oh yeah. Alright guys, I've got the bed cut and fit exactly. It's perfectly plumb, perfectly level, perfectly square to the body. Now though, I'm going to have to pull that back off, and what we want to do is make some mounts for this. Look at this. This is our Bilstein coilover, and that is massive. It's going to be awesome, but check out the length. So where it mounts onto the axle is right about there, and as you can see, it's going to have to come up through the bed. So my plan is to make a tower right around here, and then we're going to have to cut a hole in this bed, and the shocks are going to have to come up through that hole. So let's do that now. Fun, fun, fun. Alright, I've got the bed off. Now, this is one of the things that a lot of people forget to do, but this thing's going to come on and off probably 20 or 30, maybe 50 times by the time we're done with this thing. And that's going to scratch the heck out of it. So I'm going to take some tape and just tape this entire shock up. If you are actually doing this as a shop, like let's say you do this for a living, you just have a throwaway one of these that's gutted on the internals, or maybe an old one. That way you use that to mock everything up, and then you set that aside when you put the new one in. Alright, next order of operations, got the tape measure out. Things changed a lot when we put the engine in there. Now the front end is sitting on the ground. The rear end needs to sit at the same level. So right now this axle is a lot higher than that axle. So we need to lower this axle, and we need to keep the vehicle level before we can determine the shock height and mounting location. So now the axle is level with the other axle, but now the car has got the Carolina squat. So we need to raise the car on the back. So we're going to take these jack stands, put them right here. Now we need to take a level and see if the car is squatted one way or the other. It's actually just about level. I'd say we bring the back end up maybe one more click so that we're not pre-squatted. So on a truck, on my trucks anyway, I like to have the back up just a little bit. For when you put weight in the back, it's gonna bring it back down. Plus we have a lot more weight still yet to go in the back. I think that looks pretty good. What do you think for travel? Should we set it up for slow rock crawling? A lot of down travel, or should we set it up in the middle for racing?
I would say down travel. We're going to be limited by the fenders on up travel anyways.
It would be nice to know how much up travel we actually had so we could get all of the down travel.
It would be.
We're still waiting on some things for that to happen. Maybe this might be a desert racer, you don't know. With those seats in it, I mean, we could do the Baja 1000. Don't they look comfy?
Stock 12Valve ain't no desert racer.
All it requires is gearing.
It'll go really fast, up to 30 miles an hour.
Alright, so this is a 14-inch travel shock, which means it's going to travel 14 inches. So it's going to travel from here to here. And then right in the middle of that is going to be 7 inches. That is our midway point if we were setting up for racing. But what we want to do is move that point further this direction. And that's going to allow us to have more dropout, more droop in our suspension than up travel, because we don't need a lot of up travel for slow rock crawling. So how far should we move that center line? 3 inches? 2 inches?
There's so many variables.
There's a lot of variables. I'm going to say we move this line either 2 inches or 3 inches. I'm going to say right here. So now what we want to do is calculate if that line right there were to be at this line, how long is this shock overall? So what we're going to do is take this measurement, which is 7 inches, and add that to this measurement, which is 22 and a half. What's 22 and a half plus 7?
29 and a half.
29 and a half. That is what we want to set up for. So this is Josh's old shock. What we're going to do is set this up to be 29 and a half inches eye to eye. And I'll put a little clamp or something right there, or mark it. And that'll be what we use to set up with. If you don't have that, what I've done in the past is used a 2x4. We might have used the 2x4 to frame something. It's probably up in there somewhere. So I'm going to take this shock and get it down to 29 and a half inches eye to eye. Easier said than done. So now that is where I need to set this thing up at. You can see that the shock is going to stick out. Can you see that? You can see the shock is going to stick out of the bed surface just a little bit. What they do in a lot of JKs and stuff is bring the bottom of the shock underneath the axle, but I don't like that because then you're banging it on stuff and breaking it. A lot of times they'll end up breaking it. Josh likes to do the cantilever or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Maybe one day we'll build a rig like that. What I also need to keep in mind is the circumference of the shock is going to be, with the spring, 4 inches or so. So we need to make sure there's clearance. And when that drops out, it's going to obviously articulate. When it comes up, though, it's going to come out like this. Josh, I just heard the lunch lady.
OMG, Max.
The people want to know what you've brought us.
Somehow I doubt that.
I think they do.
Gourmet.
Oh, that looks gourmet to me.
It's gonna be a hamburger salad. I ran out of buns. What we ate too many chicken
Hamburgers
sandwiches
without
last week.
hamburger buns?
Yeah, we ate too many sandwiches last week. It is what it is.
Okay, bottom is mounted. Now we need to make some sort of mount for the upper. And I think the easiest way to do that is just gonna make a 90-degree tube over the top. And then we'll have some tabs coming down from that to attach that to. And we need to keep this off of the frame rail. So maybe something like that. Ideally, you wanna get everything out to the outside as far as possible, but packaging is an issue, especially in this case with the frame rail being right through here. Okay, we need to bend some tube, and I want to show you how to make a tube bending template, because this is very important for what we're about to do. To be able to bend two bends and then hit tube to tube and get the perfect measurements, you really need a template. So we're going to start by marking at 1 inch increments. So start at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And if you've never bent tube, you might not understand why we need to do this, but it'll become very important later. So I'm just going to make a few more marks here, and now we're going to notch those because these with the Sharpie are going to disappear. So we're going to make a little notch with the angle grinder. Now we're going to put that tube in our bender and align the first notch with the start of the bend, which is right in there. Then we're going to bend that tube to 90 degrees. Okay, so this is where we started the bend. I'm going to cut all the way through on 4 sides of this, and you'll see why in a second. This is where the bend ended. You can feel by that little ridge right there, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side, but we'll mark it with an E, that side with an S. Alright, there is a perfect template. Now this does a few things. It tells you where the start of the bend is. It tells you how many inches it takes to get 90 degrees. So when you start bending tube, it changes the measurements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It takes 10 inches of tube to make a full 90-degree bend. And then it's also going to be a place to hook my tape measure when I want to measure where to start the bend and at which point from a certain distance. Let me show you that. Alright, Josh, you're going to take this and hold it on that arrow right there. I'm going to hold mine on this arrow. Make sure that's somewhat straight across. There we go. Now I'm going to take my tape measure. I'm going to hook it in. If you can see that, I'm at 21.5 inches. So if I take a tube and I start the bend at a random point, 90 degrees, and then measure off of that 21 inches, 90 degrees, we're going to have the two tubes meet exactly on the frame rails, and we don't have any guesses. And then also I can measure out how many inches of tube I need. So, and then I need to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 inches on this side and 10 inches on that side. So 41.5.
You're looking at me for validation, but I was in another world.
You're the math guy. The downside of doing it this way is that you need to make a template for every degree. Let's say you want to make a 60-degree template, a 45-degree template, a 90-degree template, and a 10-degree template. That's the best way to do that. And then anything off of that, let's say 15 degrees, you just pick the closest.
Then save your templates, so next time you already have it. You don't have to remake it.
Yes, this is the first template I made many years ago, and I didn't make these little cut lines. I had them in Sharpie, and over the years the Sharpie disappeared. So that's why you make them with the little cut lines. Now I can actually have two templates and mark it off of this template. Got it? You got any questions on that?
No.
Did I do that right?
Yeah.
Now that we've got our measurements, we can kind of work in any direction that we want to. So we know that this is going to be the end of the bend, or it could be the start of the bend, depending on how we put it in the bender. And we know that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 inches from here is going to be the other end of the bend, the start or the end. So that's going to be right there. We'll flip this around. Mark the same thing on the other side. So 4 inches and 14 inches. And if we did our measurements correctly, this should be 21 and a half. Check that out. Alright, now that we have our tube cut, these are 90-degree angles, so that makes it easier. If they were 45s, if you cut that shorter, it would all be off again. But 90 degrees, nice and easy. We can lower this down, so obviously that's too high. I need to bring this down so that it's probably 3/4 of an inch above the top of here. Really depends too on the angle that we go out. You don't want it in the middle there, otherwise your vehicle is going to be all wonky. Out as far as possible, but we have to keep in mind the coils are going to sit here. Josh, you got any 4-inch coils?
4-inch coils?
It's almost the size of a coil spring, like off of a Jeep Cherokee.
Yeah.
Alright, so I'm going to start notching this down. Okay, looks like I need to drop down about, start with 3 inches. You've seen me do that before, but if not, this is the way I mark for that. So you mark your line at 3 inches. That's where we're going to cut, but we're going to cut it this direction because we're notching it to fit this tube. So it's going to be an actual notch, not a cut. And then this is the plane, so this is the direction of the notch. Since we are notching, we're going to have to cut the tube beforehand right about there. Alright, now the question is that going to be enough clearance? And we won't know until we flex it out, I guess, because right now it is, but when we flex it out, will it be? Who knows? If not, I can just take that, cut the tacks off, and move it out. So that's why we're going to leave it tacked for now, not welded up fully, because if we need to move that, it'll be so much easier. And bottom's tacked as well. I think that turned out pretty good. Now we need to figure out what we're going to do right here, because this is going to be the area, the plate, the tube work, the frame for the boom. Psych! I just thought of a way I can check this right now without waiting on the spring. I don't have the springs, but I do have the spring retainer, and that's the width of the spring. So if I flex this up and we still clearance here, should be golden. Oh, it's close, but I think it's going to work. Very, very nice. Alright, that's looking good. Here's what we're going to do next. We need to make a platform for the boom. So we're going to have a boom on this thing for the off-road wrecker that it is. Duh. But we also need to mount a winch. And what we're going to do, we're not going to use this 2x4, but we're going to use a piece of steel. What we were initially wanting was a 2x8 piece of 1/4 inch. I have some 2x6 that's left over for the sliders, but it's not long enough. It needs to be 34.5 inches to span across here. And Josh and I were going over it, what we could do, what we need to go buy some more steel, blah blah blah. And then look over there. So come check this out. Right here is a piece of 2x3 and a piece of 2x4. That'll get us 2x7 when we put them together. So I'm going to scavenge that. And then what's going to happen is we're going to cut a hole in the bed, and once that gets welded onto those bars, it's going to be 2 inches higher, which is exactly the same plane as the surface of the bed. So if we cut just right, which is going to be hard to do, but if we cut just right, this piece of steel will be flush with the bed, but the bed is just kind of sheet steel. It's not real strong. So that's why we need something really stout to be able to hold the boom and the winch, but you won't be able to tell the difference because if we do it right, it should just be pretty much flush. Does that make sense? Let's see if we can go scavenge some steel from this thing. Oh yeah. You gonna use one of those on your head?
Yeah.
There you go. Perfect.
So on all this bare metal that we have on this car, we don't want it to rust, so we're going to cover it with this shark hide metal protectant. Normally used on boats, like on pontoon boats. You wipe it on the pontoons. You do it like once a year, and it'll hopefully keep it from rusting or oxidized or anything like that. It's pretty specific. Use these flat bird's eye cloth diapers to put it on, and they're very specific about how you want to put it on to your overlap and how fast you move and how much you can do at a time. But I think I got it. Try it on the hood here first. Even how you fold the cloth is very specific. Dump it on. Well, I was supposed to wear gloves. Too late for that now. Pretty thick. I thought it was going to be thin. There we go. Now I say wait 2 or 3 days for it to cure, and then put on a second coat. And then once a year, you only have to do a single coat over top of it, and that's supposed to keep it protected.
Good morning, actually afternoon. We've been working on the truck. Wasn't going to film this, but I had to because Hope made Chinese food today and it looks really delicious. I wanted you guys to see it. I wanted the people to see.
People to see what?
Show us your plate. Is that dumplings?
That would be correct.
Chinese dumplings?
Yes.
Oh, that's delicious.
You're so weird.
It smells good. Wish you guys could smell that.
Need some smell-o-vision.
Thanks, babe.
See?
Alright, that was some good lunch. Now, let me show you where I'm at, what we've been doing this morning. So, got this tube tacked in. Added another tube back here just because there aren't enough tubes. we could always use one more. Got this thing tacked in. So this is going to be the base plate for the winch and for the boom. And what I've been doing now is measuring, trying to get precise location of the hole that I want to cut in the bed. So I've been transferring that over to here, and what I've got is this. So I'm going to cut out this hole in the bed, and I hope I measured it correctly. So I need to cut 4 very straight lines, and I just picked up a really cool tool from 911 Motorsports that'll help me do that. So typically what I do is I just hold this on there and cut it, but whenever you're cutting on a vertical surface like this, or even upside down, it's really hard because you're fighting against gravity. Well, these are little magnets. So you just take that, you put it on your tool, and then it magnetizes it down to the working surface. And now, once I get that lined up, I can just take my plasma torch and use that as your guide. And I don't have to hold it. I've got 2 hands now instead of just 1. That's pretty darn cool. Alright, let's see how well this works. I'm going to start right there. that was super handy. Alright. I'm going to continue to cut on that and we'll see if it fits here in a minute. Alright, now we have a conundrum and we think we found the solution. Actually, James the mailman gave us this solution. We need to pick this thing up and we can't just slide it on like we did before because of that hoop. And things are in the way now, so we're going to try to use a strap. I think the tube
Needs cut out.
needs cut out there. We'll just leave that there for a minute. Alright, I went back and forth and measured a couple times. And I need to cut out something like that, because that tube is going to come up through there. And I was just going to freehand it, and then I thought, you know what? I also have this from 911 Motorsports. I've had these for a long time, and they come in handy a lot too. So I'm just going to lay that right there, trace it, and it'll be perfect rather than just guessed. Also, we worked out a coupon code with 911 Motorsports. If you guys want to buy anything from them, you can get 10% off. That coupon code is on our website, BleepinJeep.com, under member discounts. So yeah, if you ever want anything from there, make sure to check out our coupon code page. We've also got a ton of other companies on there as well. We got a leaf fire. I think if we put these straps right here on the edge, and if they stay there, we should be good. Still needs to come down, stuck on something, but it should be flush right here whenever it fully seats. What do you think? Looks pretty good. It's going to move a little bit. This side's going to go forward slightly, but I think that's going to work. Once we get the shocks mounted, Josh had the idea we can take a plate and just bolt it from here to here, close that off, and keep things from falling through. Actually, we can weld it on because won't be able to come off anyway. Once we're finished, this is going to be a permanent attachment. So right now, this line is slightly off, so I need to pull this bed forward into its position and then see if I need to adjust that plate at all. That thing looks pretty sweet. I need to make a couple of modifications, but that's basically how it's going to look. The shocks are going to come up through here, and the reservoirs we're thinking are going to sit right on top of each other, on top of that bar. So the reservoirs come off of the shock, and then we'll twist them around and put them on top of that bar there. And then the boom. So now I'm looking at where the boom's going to go. I'm probably going to widen this out a little bit on either side because I want to get that boom as far out as possible for stability. And yeah, we'll go from there. Okay, it's time to take that off again. You hear that? That's the bugs. That means it's late. We're pulling a late shift tonight. Josh is working feverishly over here. You guys wanted a hater pipe? We've got a hater pipe for you right there. Tell us about your hater pipe.
No, it's gonna be noisy and
It's gonna smell great. It's gonna be awesome.
So he's got an issue here. As you can see, it's leaned back, and you think it's gonna look better sticking straight up?
Yeah, I think it'll be better straight up than leaning back. I think that it just looks like we didn't do it right. It's kind of cool leaning back, but it just looks like
It makes it look fast.
no, it makes it look hodgepodged.
Alright, so I think the solution is going to be to make a slice right here. We'll put it back in, bend it forward, tack it, pull it back off, and then
weld it.
weld it. So people are going to want to know how you're going to close the hood with that.
So it's going to be a slip. You're going to put another little extension right here, and this is just going to slip onto it. So it's just going to be one hole in the hood instead of having to cut out a big slot.
My original idea was just to cut a U shape in the back of the hood.
We could do that too, since it's so far back.
But you would have this hole in the hood where you could see through there.
Yeah.
I kind of like that idea. The only problem with that is we're going to have to carry leather gloves with us at all times, because if you need to open the hood, it's going to be quite hot.
You're not going to be opening the hood fast.
Well, if there's a fire, there's plenty of access down here, so that's good.
And yes, it is near the battery. It's really close to the battery, so you're going to wrap that and maybe put a little shield in between it or something. Batteries don't like heat.
They don't like cold either.
They don't like cold either.
Maybe they like heat more than cold. Alright, check out what I'm working on back here. Still the same thing. Still the same thing as 3, 4, 5, 6 hours ago. Just adding more tubes, putting a tube there, putting a tube there. We put a tube there, and we made these little extensions onto here because I want the boom to be as wide as possible. And I didn't like the way it was going to look with the boom here, so I wanted it out a few more inches. So it's starting to look good. I'm considering making a X in there. What do you think if I took some thinner gauge tube and made an X from here to that one? I feel like that would strengthen it a lot.
I think it would too.
I was hoping you'd say no.
It's worthless waste of time.
Making an X is a lot of work.
Right, so I've got it sliced right down there. See it opening and closing. It just mounted tight. The angle, if you guys can see that, nears makes no difference to straight up and down. If the tires have more air in them, it's going to throw it off one way or the other. So as long as I'm making ground contact through this paint, I should be able to tack it in place. All right. Hater pipe.
How's it looking?
It's getting close.
Good morning, guys. We're back at it on the Jag. Last night I was watching some videos refreshing myself on 911 Motorsports on their YouTube channel. They have some really good videos on how to bend tube, how to get perfect copes. And one of the things that I was struggling with yesterday was getting that cope right there, that notch. And he was showing a tool, and I thought, wait a minute, I have that tool. And that tool is right here. Let me show you this. So I really like cool, unique tools, and this is one of them. So the reason that this notch is so difficult is because it's at two different angles, right? So this tube is coming in this way, but this tube is going downward as it's coming in. And to get that cope just right, since we're not going this direction, we're actually going this direction, there's all kinds of weird angles in there. So that's where this tool comes in handy. What I'm going to do is put that right in there, point it where I need to go. So this is just a spare piece of tube here. I'm going to point it right where I need to go, which is right there. And then I'm going to start moving these needles out with my finger. until they contact the tube. And we're going to do that on the bottom side as well. Carefully remove that, and now we have a really good starting area for our tube. Let me show you how this works. I'm going to carefully remove this. That's the 911 Motorsports logo. That's pretty cool. So we're going to carefully remove that. We're going to put this on the tube that we're going to use now. And I'm going to slide that all the way out to the end right there, and then we'll tighten that up a little bit. Now I'm just going to trace it. Bonus is that it has alignment marks, so that's the top of the tube and the bottom of the tube. That'll help us with the tube notcher or whenever we go do the other side. Now we'll just kind of straighten out those lines. And I use a tube notcher a lot, but in the video he was actually using just an angle grinder with a cutoff wheel. I might try that. Seemed pretty easy. Let's see how we did for our first one. Oh wow, that's way better than what I did yesterday. Check that out, guys. That turned out really nice and really well. It just goes to show that you don't need fancy tools. I don't know how much that thing is, but it's not nearly as much as this tool over here. A notcher is nice to have, and it makes quick work of straight notches, but trying to do complex copes like that, this thing just doesn't quite cut it. It's really hard to do, and that was quick and simple with an angle grinder, and a couple minutes we were able to make that a nice easy notch. So now to get this one, all we need to do is mark the vertical right here. So we're going to be right in there somewhere, and just like before, we're going to notch this direction. Alright, check that out. Got it painted for now. Some of that's going to have to get wire wheeled off again, but that's how we roll, because you got to paint stuff while you can, right? While I was doing that, Josh was over here wiring up the winch. So winch controller box is right down there. That looks good. Did you run into any issues?
Little issues the whole time. Just little issue after little issue after little issue.
But it's all working now?
Theoretically.
Theoretically?
It theoretically works great.
Alright. So now I'm going to head back outside and work on the bed again, because we need to cut a little bit more of the bed opening. This has to get cut here, and then I'm also going to cut a hole, a square hole, in the back bumper, because we're going to put a 2-inch receiver in there. One of the things that Ian said the other day on a meeting that we had for the build challenge was that we were going to have to pull something like a dead pull like you would have at a county fair or something. I don't know what they've got set up, but we're going to have to pull something, so I figured it would be nice to have a 2-inch receiver on the back of this thing. Receiver is going to come through here, get welded to here, and this is getting welded to the frame.
So on the theme of trying to save money, I found this nice license plate. It came off the Dodge. It was still attached to the bed. I needed a thin piece of aluminum to make a switch panel out of for the winch, for in-cab winch controls. So that'll be perfect.
So what I'm going to do is cut these off, because this red line right here is the shape of the car, and having this stick out doesn't quite look right. We're thinking about trying to cope that and all, But in hindsight, after we put it on the vehicle yesterday, I think what we're going to do is just kind of make an angle, a straight angle to match that curve, but in a straight line. Dang, these days are going by quick. We got a lot of good work done last night. Check this out. Made some brackets here and there, and then I realized I should probably make 2 more there and there. Got those painted up. They're hard to see because they're so dang black, but I think that's going to help strengthen everything for the boom. Josh has been hard at work over here getting this switch panel in. That looks really nice. Josh, what are those switches for?
2 of them are for the winch. 2 of them are spares.
Also got the stack nice and vertical. That looks good. What are you working on over there?
Just more wiring.
Winch is in. Winch controller is in. So now we thought, well, we're really close. We need to start this thing, make sure it runs before we continue building on a non-running vehicle. But to do that, we need to put some fluids in it. So I'm going to put some fluids in here, and we only have 1 gallon of diesel. Is that going to be enough?
Should run for a while on a gallon.
It'll be nice to see though if the fluids are leaking too.
Yeah.
So something that drives me nuts is the 50/50 pre-diluted antifreeze. It's almost impossible to find the concentrate stuff now. Drives me crazy.
It does.
And the fact that they don't sell distilled water at AutoZone also drives me crazy. So let me know in the comments below what happened to our society that made them start selling 50/50 pre-mixed antifreeze.
I can tell you what happened.
Tell me, what happened?
I can't tell them on YouTube, but I can tell you what happened.
Does it have to do with stupidity or greed?
Stupidity, laziness, greed. Definitely greed. Gloop, 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 gloop.
For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, if you were born after 2000 or so, you used to just buy antifreeze concentrate. That's the only thing you could buy. Now, most of what they sell is 50/50 pre-diluted. And even my son got confused by this. He said, well, it's cheaper. But what you don't realize is you're just paying for half water. So you have to pay for the distilled water, but it's cheap. It's like, it used to be like 37 cents, but after inflation, I think today I paid $1.29 or something.
Good Lord.
But it's still, so once you get the concentrate and the distilled water, you've got 2 gallons for just $1 more than what you paid for this. So I think a lot of people don't understand that, and they're like, oh, the 50/50 is $1 or $2 cheaper. Well, yeah, because you're paying for water.
I used to use water out of my faucet. If it's good enough for me to drink, it's good enough for my car to drink.
No. It's got calcium in it, especially well water like we've got.
Nah.
What do you guys think? Distilled water, spring water, or whatever water?
What is best to use? Distilled water. What have I used? My whole life I've never had a problem with this tap water.
I used chicken water once. Do you remember that video?
Chicken water?
Chicken water.
No. Definitely used creek water.
Creek water. Pee. Yeah, whatever you got.
I don't think I've ever went home after putting creek water in it and thought I better change this.
Pee's the same color.
Pee is the same color. It's a little acidic, so it probably does a good job of cleaning things out.
It's lubricating too.
What do you have in your pee that's lubricating?
A lot of sugar. And if you ever get a used car and you don't know how much coolant is in there versus water, you use one of these little handy tools and you suck it up in there and it'll tell you exactly how much coolant versus water you've got in there.
You can taste it too.
Man, you're strong. Oh, watch out. All right, Josh, any reason we can't put power steering fluid in? You're supposed to say, you tell me.
That's that fancy fluid. It's turning the steering wheel.
That's good. What are you doing there?
Priming.
Looks like you've had a lot of practice.
I'm a good primer.
So what are we waiting for? Fuel to spill out?
Fuel to come out of that guy right there. We could also pressurize that fuel can.
You want to go blow some air into it?
That might be better than
Doing that for 3 hours?
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah, lightly.
Lightly? There's no such thing. This is 100 psi.
Oh, okay.
Man, this thing's looking good. Okay. Oh, there's smoke.
That means there was fire.
Hold on, let's see if it's sucking down the power steering at all. Not one bit. Oh, now it's fighting me. Oh, it's sucking down now. So we're trying to get the air out of the power steering system, which there's a lot of lines. And some of it is custom booty fabbed. So I think it's getting there though. Starting to move it. Whoa! So I had a question I wanted to ask you guys, the viewers at home. How much in dollars does it take to fill an entire rock crawler with fluid? From power steering fluid, coolant, oil, differential fluid, all the fluids. If you add it all up, how much would you think that it would cost?
Diesel or gas?
No, not including gas, just oils and fluids other than gas.
$250.
$250? I'm gonna say it's way more than that. Just these things alone are ridiculous. When I went to Walmart today, of course I got extra stuff, but it was almost $500 in fluids.
Yeah.
Let us know what you guys think. Maybe a mathematician will add it all up. Okay.
Ready?
Nope, but let's go for it. It runs. Good job.
What was that? Cut it off?
It sucked all the fluid down.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure we've already put almost $100 in just power steering fluid alone. So I think that for that $250 that you said is going a little bit higher. Alright, that's exciting, guys. Now we just need some drive shafts and a few more odds and ends, and we'll be driving this thing around the neighborhood. You must have done some good wiring in there.
Yeah. We got lucky.
Got lucky.
You gonna put it in gear? Try the clutch out?
That sounds scary, but okay. We've got no drive shaft, so you shouldn't go anywhere. I saw it spinning. Alright. So Russell wanted me to put it up on jack stands and run it through all the gears before we actually drove it anywhere. But that scares me with tires on it. If we've got tires on it and it accidentally fell off the jack stands, that sucker would just right through the wall. Alright guys, the truck runs. That's very exciting, but there's still a lot of work yet to do. I think the next step is going to be putting the bed back on once again and starting to build the headache rack, which is then going to tie into the roll cage and the roof rack. So let's get this thing lifted and set in place. Are you polishing?